Hi there, I'm Noen Rodriguez, and today I will be conducting a discourse analysis of the news and media coverage surrounding the NFL's national anthem protest, which of course was ignited by Colin Kaepernick back in 2016 when he took a knee against police brutality and societal injustice. I examined various different texts from a wide array of different news and media outlets asking the question, how exactly has news and media representation of player protests shifted public and political discourse, with the argument that the majority of media coverage surrounding athletic social activism represents their actions as unruly or unpatriotic. Coverage of this controversial topic reached new heights when the sports and political world collided. This happened when Donald Trump took to a stage in Alabama in one of his rallies and called NFL players, quote, sons of bitches, and said that they should be fired for not standing for the national anthem. Fox News has also been known for creating a similar type of narrative against NFL players who decide to exercise their First Amendment rights. A good example of this came when Jeanine Pirro took to the national airwaves and said that all NFL players and personnel were full of crap, and even tried to equate taking a knee to domestic abuse and murder. ESPN, on the other hand, has been known for being a player-centric media organization, so it wasn't very surprising when ESPN personality Jemele Hill went on Twitter to defend NFL players' actions. Now, what was surprising was when ESPN executives suspended Hill and told all ESPN personalities to avoid political topics. When it comes to major news networks, CNN very well may be the largest proponent of the NFL anthem protest. A great example of this is when CNN interviewed former Green Beret and NFL player Nate Boyer, who said that he had no problem with the peaceful protest and that soldiers don't die for the national anthem or die for the flag, they die for the men on their left and right. Dale Hansen of ABC News delivered a similar message on air when he said, quote, I served in the military during the Vietnam War. My high school best friend was killed in Vietnam. Carol Meyer will be 18 years old forever, and he did not die for you to decide who is a patriot. Hansen also went on to call the discourse surrounding the anthem protests a dog whistle of racism. This convergence of sports, politics, and the public has created such an uproar that even popular magazines such as GQ felt the need to weigh into the debate, which is exactly what they did when they named Colin Kaepernick 2017 Citizen of the Year for his acts of activism and resistance. While Colin Kaepernick has been shown a good amount of gratitude for his social activism, the amount of disdain that he has received may very well surpass it. This divide amongst the public is particularly interesting to me. How is it that Colin Kaepernick was the top-selling jersey of 2016, while so many of his jerseys were being burnt? This divide in the public became so large that the NFL began getting heat from their sponsors to end player protests, which is why on March 24th, the NFL implemented a new policy that prohibits players from protesting on the sidelines. While the NFL is a private industry who can make up their own rules for their employees, this is an infringement upon the First Amendment. Within hours of hearing the news of the NFL's new policy against national anthem protests, Donald Trump had an exclusive interview on a Fox program called Fox and Friends, in which he applauded the NFL's new policy, saying that they did the right thing. He went on to claim that anyone that continues to protest the national anthem going forward should be deported. However, Donald Trump is definitely not the only political figure to take offense to players protesting the national anthem. When House Representative Pete King heard that the New York Jets owner planned to pay the fines for his players who decided to kneel during the anthem, Pete King compared this to promoting Nazis and racism. This story continues to grow. On June 5th, Sarah Huckabee Sanders got in a heated debate with a reporter over the national anthem protests, where Sanders stated that 70% of Americans agree that athletes should stand for the national anthem. And she also went on to say that this has become a political argument that Donald Trump refuses to back down from. Also on June 5th, CNN produced their own article that provided actual statistics regarding Americans' attitudes toward national anthem protest. The most recent public opinion survey does show that Huckabee's numbers are a little bit inflated. 47% of people say that players should be required to stand for the anthem, while 48% say that they should be allowed to kneel. So you see, you have one side of the aisle who has accepted the narrative that player protests of the national anthem are unpatriotic due to athletes' monetary privilege within our society, arguing that athletes should forfeit their platform and political voices because sports is merely a product of entertainment, a way for the viewer to get away from the real world.
Meanwhile, the other side of this debate argues that sports and political activism have always been intertwined. In fact, many of the athletes that you see on the screen now have been revered for their advocacy efforts. This side also argues that it's unpatriotic to ask anyone to give up their voice, especially when a person has a platform to enact change.
Given all the text that we've reviewed so far, it's very fair to surmise that this political and societal divide is not about the flag, the military, or the national anthem at all. This divide is about race. Just as ABC anchor Dale Hansen alluded to in his monologue, this is simply racism disguised as patriotism.
Evidence of this racial divide was produced by USA Today when they surveyed 1,200 citizens pulled from geographical locations that were representative of United States demographics. The survey found that 42% of African Americans liked Kaepernick a lot, while 2% disliked him a lot. Meanwhile, 37% of white respondents said they disliked him a lot.
All in all, I was a bit surprised to find that most of the news and media coverage surrounding the NFL anthem protest was in favor of the players. Nevertheless, it's still abundantly clear that the rhetoric used in news and media coverage surrounding this topic is divisive, not only in terms of societal and political discourse, but also in terms of race. This story is far from over. On July 10th, the NFL Players Association filed a grievance against the NFL on the basis that the new policy is inconsistent with the collective bargaining agreement and that it infringes upon the players' First Amendment rights. It will be interesting to see how this story will continue to influence discourse here in America. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation. If you'd like to check out any of the texts or resources that I referred to in my presentation, here they are. Have a good one.